we grew so much just organically that way, and then giving product to people with big communities, and they would share. Throughout the years, we've gotten more and more reliant on spend with Meta and Google, and now TikTok, and it is a game I want out of. I can't. It's insane how much money we and companies like us give these platforms. So the constant struggle right now is to figure out how can we reach our customers organically? How can we actually talk to them?
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Going Beyond the Deal podcast. Today, I have my guest, Vanessa Quigley, co-founder of Chatbooks. So, Vanessa, you've built a consumer brand that turns everyday memories into something real, and you did it while
Yeah.
raising a big family. I really want this episode for founders to talk about building a company and a culture that actually supports life. You're a high
Mm.
performer and you don't burn out. I want to talk about product, culture, leader. Yeah, you burn out a little bit, but I think you can handle it here. But for the show
Yeah.
today, we're going to talk about product, culture, leadership, and the cost of personal growth. So, in one breath, who is Vanessa Quigley?
I am a mother of 7, grandmother of 2. I love the arts and performing, and I've been building a business, which was never my life plan, but I love every day going to work and facing new challenges and growing little by little. And yeah, that's who I am. I love adventure. I love spontaneity. I love a challenge.
I love it. So you said it wasn't your intention to start a company. What was the why behind this mission? I think I already kind of know the answer, but I want the audience to know.
My why when I went to college was to perform on the big opera stages around the world. I was studying music and I had a big dream of being an international opera singer. And the universe had a different plan for me because I graduated with a baby. I had a baby my senior year in college, and all of a sudden that path looked a little more challenging. And a couple other events in our personal life changed that course for me. And I was primarily a stay-at-home mom, just singing as much as I could on the side, but really focused on raising my family. And I'm the oldest of 12, and I knew I wanted a big family. So once we got started, I'm like, all right, let's
Yeah,
just do
I
this.
love it.
So, fast forward and I have 7 babies, and I'm singing as much as I can, but not as much as I want to. And my youngest is getting ready to go to kindergarten. I'm like, finally, this is my chance. I'm going to go back. I'm going to get my master's. I'm really going to do this. And I had this experience with him where he was getting ready to go to kindergarten, and he's feeling a little nostalgic. And he was looking through a photo album that his preschool teacher had made for him as a graduation present from preschool with a dozen
Yeah.
snapshots of their field trips and class parties. And he was overcome with emotion and just like sobbing and told me that he never wanted to grow up. And it was adorable. But it also was this major gut punch that I was failing in what I believe was one of my most important jobs, to help my family hold on to the story of this beautiful, crazy, amazing life that we have together. And I was a really good scrapbooker for my first
Yeah.
couple of kids. But over the course of time, I quit scrapbooking, I quit printing photos, I quit doing anything. All this kid had to show for his life up to that point were our yearly Christmas cards. And it was that moment that I'm like, ah, I can do better. I have to do better. We have so many ad advantages with technology now today. There's gotta be a better solution for this problem for me and for other busy moms like me. And so that became my why. And I partnered with my husband, who is a serial entrepreneur. He loves talking about businesses and building businesses. And I shared my idea with him, and here we are.
I love it. I love it. We have a lot of similarities. I did not have a baby my senior year in college. Um,
Okay, good. I
yeah,
don't advise it. It's very
but
challenging.
I did pursue that rock and roll dream. That's kind of part of my origin story. And I got to this point where, my father ended up passing away pretty young, but he said, what do you ultimately want to do? And I said, I want to be a husband and a father. And being the rock and roll singer on the road. I mean, you know the way this industry works now. You don't make money from actually producing music anymore. You make a living by getting out there on the road and doing it. And I didn't want to be that absentee husband and absentee father on tour, making a lot of money, hopefully. Um, so I can really relate to that. But I would say, and something I want to hit on that's been helpful to me, but I'm just curious for you as well. That experience of learning how to sing, how to get up in front of crowds, right? You get to experience having a bad night, or when your voice cracks and you think, oh my God, this is over. They found me out. I didn't practice enough this week. How has that shaped your experience and your resilience as an operator? Having that experience beforehand of being a performer. I think that's a great connection there.
Yeah. As you were talking, I had so many little things pop into my mind. I mean, the show must go on, right? I'm a live performer, and so you have all this preparation to get to that point, and you have no idea what's actually going to happen, right? But one time I was standing there and I didn't have the music memorized, and I had laid my music out, and whoever got up to make the announcement before, when he walked away, he grabbed the second page of my music with him by accident and sat down. So I'm up there singing and I'm going through the first page, and then I go to the second page and I don't have the words there. I don't have anything. I'm just like, okay, I mean, what I wanted to do was just like go running off and just disappear, right? But the show must go on. I had to, you know, what's happening? Okay, just a moment, please, and gather myself. So many things like that happen. And that is business, right? You prepare as much as you can, you forecast, you build a team, you've got, you know, everything that you can do up to that point. And then who knows what's going to actually happen? Like, what is the market going to do? How are your customers going to react? Is your server going to break? Is there, there are so many variables that are not in your control, but learning to just roll with it and just say, okay, the show must go on. That is just like every day I call on that. Also, there's a big portion of building a business, running a business, shopping for investors, talking to customers. It's all about storytelling, right? And as a performer, that's your
Yeah,
job, is to tell the story of the opera or the song or the show that you're in. And so when I don't feel my most confident, I put on my storytelling hat, my little
I
actress
love
hat,
that.
and I just like play the part and try to tell the story and get what I need.
I think the resilience is such a huge thing. And I'll tell you a quick story. So this week, I wrote my first book. I published my book. I got asked to do a keynote in New York City. Everything got thrown off about the keynote. And I got up there, but I still did it, and it was good. And then what was funny is I went to you might know this as a musician. I went to the Stone Pony that same night to see a concert. The Stone Pony is a very famous music venue here in New Jersey. Bruce Springsteen, anybody who's anybody has played there. I've actually got to play there in my
Nice.
youth 5 to 7 times. Very
Nice.
cool. So the band gets up and it starts to play, and the guitar cuts out. And it's like, and then you had the keyboard player like, well, everybody, hey, how's everybody doing today? No, we're going to do this. And you're like, man, this stinks. Because I've been in that position where I didn't have the second page of my lines. And you're like, oh, I'm the
Hmm.
person that ruined this
Hmm.
entire event. Everybody's looking at me. These poor guys, they get the guitar back working. All right, we're going to kick it back into the song. And they did it like professionals. Like, show must go on. Nothing happens. Then there's a medical emergency in the crowd. 30 seconds into the song stops again.
Mm-mm.
Happened again 2 more times with two different medical emergencies. I was like,
Wow.
I'm thinking to myself back in the day, like you said, I just would want to curl up in a ball and die. Like I would just want to cry. I wouldn't know what to do. And you would have this, a lot of people would get up there and be like, ugh, the universe is telling me that I shouldn't be playing. I'm going to be annoyed and I'm just going to get. These guys played the songs absolutely perfectly. They finished out the night perfectly. Having that muscle of resilience is such an important thing to do. And I think that a lot of people that are performers really get that. So I love talking to other
Yeah.
performers about that and hearing that input.
Yeah. There's no such thing as a perfect performance. Like, absolutely no. So even like I'll perform and someone will be like, "Oh my gosh, that's flawless." And I'm like, "They don't know. No, I made up that word. I messed up that phrase. I missed that note. I changed that passage, you know?" And that like is true for business, right? Nothing actually goes exactly
Never going to
according
work.
to plan.
Yeah.
But I will say, like that example that I gave you where I was standing there on stage with no music, no idea what was happening. My pianist is looking at me like, "What is going on?" I had a lot of people come up to me afterwards and say, "Oh, the best part of that performance was how you handled that. Like, I would have wanted to run off the stage screaming, but you kept smiling, you kept your wits about you." And yeah, I kind of was when I finally got all my music in front of me and I had another shot at it. I had all this adrenaline of like, "Oh my gosh, we're doing this. I get another shot at this."
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, when you first had this idea, which is really cool how it came from your son getting this, he was about to go to kindergarten. He's got this scrapbook that his preschool teacher. I have a 6-year old, so I'm living in this world right now where I see, these things. And it's interesting with a 6-year old now, she's starting to understand time. And she's like, "You're 44 years old." Oh, okay. She's very in tune to time and things like that, and how time is going fast and things keep moving, right? But you came up with this idea of Chatbooks. So you had the idea. Where did it go from there? You bring it to your husband, who's a serial entrepreneur, and you say, "I got this wild and crazy idea." Where did it go from there, and how did you start to really execute on it? Because that's a challenge that I think most
Yeah.
people have. They got a great idea, but they don't know how to press the first domino. So how'd you press the first domino?
Well, I will say, I think the first domino was pressed like 10 years prior because my husband had sold a business and we both really care about our family. Like it is our number one, focus priority. And family memories have always been important to us. And so he had this idea for creating this cloud-based place where families could safeguard, organize, and enjoy photos, videos, audio clips, journal entries. And so he had started paying developers and designers on the side to build what he thought the answer was to this problem. And so we had 10 years of software and experience and a small team that he had at that point when I had my little aha moment was currently employing to kind of execute
Mhm.
his vision. But over the 10 years, his customers was, his mom, his cousin, like maybe a handful of other people. I didn't wanna use the software he was building. It wasn't the solution for me. Um, and so but I was nervous to ever say anything because what do I know? I don't know anything about business. Like, I haven't built a software company before. I just let him do his thing and just kind of like hoping he would figure it out. But when I had this experience with my son and I'm like, it has to be so easy, it's, like, almost automatic, and I thought about all of the photos that I was sharing on social media, like, that I was essentially curating the mess in my camera roll, the thousands and thousands of photos in my camera roll. I was curating them by selecting them, the ones that I wanted to share on social media. I was adding a little caption. I'm like, "I've already done the work. Help me give me the thing that I want," like, something printed to put into Declan's hands. So when I took that idea to my husband, he was already in a place of frustration that like, because he had actually been working on this idea full time for a couple of years. He was a little frustrated it wasn't working either. I think he was sufficiently, like, humbled and in a place to take some, like, redirection, and he was like, "Okay, let's give it a shot," and he called his team, and he's like, "Put everything up on the shelf. I have another idea. Let's give it 2 weeks and see what we can come up with." And within 2 weeks, we had a prototype that we started showing people, and instead of hearing, "Oh, yeah, that's cool. I should do that. I should do that." Those words are the kiss of death. All of a sudden, we were hearing people say, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Where can I get this? Like, here's my credit card. Take my money. I want that." Um, and so I feel like I wish we had those 10 years back and all the money that we spent on building the wrong solution. But it was a painful, important way for us to get to where we were actually ready to execute on the thing that was gonna work. And, within a month, we were at capacity at our print shop, like, we knew we were onto something.
How long has it been since that moment happened where your husband decided to flip the business?
Yeah, that was in, like, early 2014.
So now here we are 12 years later. you've gotten, he did it from 2004 to 2014. I think it's a really important lesson that needed to happen, right? How does he feel about it now? Like, I mean, you don't seem like the "I told you so" type of person here, but how has
No,
he embraced
no.
it? The reason I'm asking this because you said I was nervous to say something to him, right? And then now, after you did say something to him, now it starts working, and it doesn't start working like 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. You literally have people saying, "Here's my credit card. Take my money. I want one of these books. Like next, how do I get this right away?" How has that affected your relationship with your husband? Was he like, "Wow, this is great," and was he like gung ho,
Yeah,
let's go for it? Was there any
no.
resentment?
Yeah. No, no resentment towards me at all. I mean, maybe a little bit of like, "Oh, I wish we could go back 10 years and, like, do something different," you know? I don't like to live in regret, but we learn by failure, like, that is the way human beings learn. He was super grateful, and I was super grateful that it was working, and I wanted no part in actually building the business. I was like, "There was my golden idea. Now, hallelujah, this is working. Now I'm gonna go back to school, and I'm gonna, get my yoga certification and go play pickleball or whatever." Like, I had other plans. But I also had lots of ideas about the way he was starting to build a business. "Oh, why are you using that? Why are you doing it that way? Why? Hmm, that's interesting." And I realized that, like, I am his customer. Like, this is for me and for people like me. And my husband and the 3 dudes on his team are not going to be addressing my needs the way that they need to be
Yeah.
addressed. You know, they need me on the team. And so with a little bit of coaxing, like, I knew that was true, I still didn't wanna do it, but he basically begged me, "We need you. Please come join the team." And, I brought with it, years of storytelling and performing and then lots of experience with memory keeping and, all of my perspective on how important this piece is and how busy moms are and they don't need another job or project. I assumed the role of chapbooker in chief. I made up a title for myself because I'm like, this job has never been done before. And yeah, and it's been a really, really beautiful expansion of our relationship. Like, I was a little bit nervous in all of the years he would talk about us starting a business together because that was really his like wildest dream. And I was like, nope, I'm the oldest in my family. He's the oldest in his family. We're very type A, like both like to be the boss. I did not see that working very well together for us to be working together. But and maybe it would have been a little harder if we were younger, in
Yeah.
newlyweds. But at that point, we'd been married and solving problems together and troubleshooting for, 20 years. And so we had a lot of experience of handling, stress and problems. And so it's been a beautiful experience for us personally as husband and wife too.
I give you guys a lot of credit for that because I would be very nervous. So my wife and I are both very type A, and like she said, like, "Well, you should let me work for you." And I was like, "Well, if you're going to work for me, you have to do what I say. Not you can't challenge me on every little thing that I do, like you do with the way I do my housework and stuff." Yeah,
Right, right. Well, my husband's the CEO, and then, like I said, a chapter chief. Right now, I oversee brand and content community marketing primarily, and we're kind of in different lanes, but there is no one boss. Like, and I think that really helps. Like, I don't get to tell him what to do, and he doesn't get to tell me what to do. We are equal partners as we build this with the rest of our team, and it's been really great. And I'm really grateful because I know it's not like that for everyone.
that's amazing. So, the one thing that you guys have done, and this is kind of more of a technical question because we have a lot of operators here. You guys chose to kind of go down the path of a subscription model for this. What was the reasoning behind that? I mean, obviously, getting somebody to pay you on a regular basis more than one time is strong, but I feel
Yeah.
like with this type of a product, it's gonna be something that you're not just gonna wanna get one time, right? It's one something you kinda look I would think it's something you'd look forward to receiving. So can you walk through, like, who kinda came up with that idea for it and how that's worked out for the business?
I mentioned that my initial idea was like print the photos that I post on social media, right? I've already done all of that work. Give me what I want. Put those photos and those captions in books automatically. Um, Something's better
Yeah.
than nothing, right? And that was the initial thing that got us going. And when as we were talking about what this product was going to look like, I had in my mind the shelves of National Geographics that my grandparents had in their home. They were subscribers. They kept every issue. They had, on the spine, they were in chronological order based on volume and date. And I used to love going to their place and pulling those out and looking at them. And I kind of had that idea in mind that we should be subscribing to our life. Like we are taking millions and trillions of photos. And traditionally, photo books have been for a wedding, for a reunion, as a gift, like special one off books. And I think that's because they took a lot of time to make and they were very expensive. And so I knew as a mom that it's all those in between moments that really tell the story of our life. You can have a fabulous vacation and take amazing pictures. And those are important to hold on to. But you and I both know that when we go on vacation with our family, that is like has nothing to do with real
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
right? But it's at home, like the family dinners, the friends that come over, the like tucking into bed at night, the dropping off at carpool, like all of those things. That's where the beauty of family life is. And so the idea was like help people subscribe to their life. So the original hero product was this basically an API plugin to Instagram and Facebook. As people shared their photos, we automatically would send them books of those photos and captions. It wasn't very long after we started that we, heard from a lot of people like, I want more in my books than I want to post on social media. People were starting to open like private accounts where they could share more to get the photos in their books, but they didn't really want anyone to see them. And so we started building a way to make your books going straight from your camera roll. You don't even have to go to social media. I also didn't want to build a business that relied on a third party to survive, right? Um, Last December, Meta finally announced they were no longer going to support third parties in downloading or printing or using anything with the photos that you share on their platforms, which would have been devastating to our business when we started. But at that point, only less than 2% of the photos we print come from Instagram or Facebook. So it wasn't a big deal to us. But helping people see that those everyday moments, that's where the magic of family life is, and create a flow that allows them to easily not have a huge project, but to break it down month by month. For example, today's February 2nd, right? Last night, February 1st, I opened up my Chatbooks app. I tapped on my month book for January. It pulled in all of the photos from my camera roll just from January. It grouped any duplicates, it eliminated screenshots. I just picked 60 of the ones that I liked the most. I had a lot of photos because I went on a cruise and I went to visit my parents in Florida and I visited my daughter in St. George. I had a lot of photos to pick from, but you can pick 30 to 60 photos and then send it to print. Something is better than nothing. Done is better than perfect. That book is gonna show up in a week, and it's another book in the story of our lives that is stacking up on my coffee table and accumulating on my shelves. It is a disruption to the photo book industry, and one of our challenge has been to get the word out there because people are like, "Why would I need to subscribe to a photo book?" Because in their mind, they have their trip to Hawaii or their wedding album or the family reunion. But so it takes a little bit of education and showing them that, like, actually, your camera roll is full of the stuff you wanna hold on to. And our customers are primarily moms, but our consumers are their children, and especially young children. They love to see themselves in
Yeah.
print, right? And so having a book show up every month that costs less than your coffee is magic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the analog thing, I always say this, when I wrote my book, somebody said, "Well, you gotta do the audiobook version." I said, "Well, I don't know, for me, I'm kind of like an old school guy. I collect vinyl. I like to open up the vinyl. I like to read who played on this. I like to see all the pictures. I like that analog thing." And what's funny is as much as children are into technology, iPads, whatever it is, right? That's a struggle we deal with. I'm sure you deal with it with your kids and grandchildren as it is as well, but there's something magical that they find about being able to pick this book up and see pictures. I did this for my wife for when we got married. I made I put a picture in for every month that we were together that tells like kind of our relationship story. The person who looks at that book more than anybody is my 6-year-old daughter. And
Oh,
and
yeah.
I had this idea a while back, I thought it was a good one, was I created an email address for my daughter. So I thought it would be cool for her to have a Gmail. And I started writing her emails every once in a while, like the night she was born. Mommy's doing so well. We've been here for 3 days, but you haven't come yet. But, we're really excited. When she came, I wrote a thing. When we went through COVID, I wrote her an email like, we're going through this crazy thing right now. I'm literally lysoling bags of groceries because
Wow.
I don't know what's going on with this thing. And I thought that it was something but again, you get busy, you forget to do that. If I try to show you a picture, like, hey, how did that keynote go last week? I'm like, I got to go back because we do a selfie every night before we go to bed after I blow dry her hair, right? Like,
I love
I
that.
have all of these pictures in here, and I really think that this is something. I think that this is an amazing, amazing, amazing idea, and I can see what you mean by with the kids and wanting to see these things. I think that's really amazing.
Yeah. My youngest son, the one who, helped spark the idea, at that point, I was just full time trying to take electronics away from him, iPads, phones, like that's all he wanted, right? And then when we got our first batch of our books printed with our photos, I have this picture I actually snapped of him sitting on the couch with his two buddies on either side with a pile of chapbooks, just riveted. He was telling the stories of all the photos, and I'm like, "This is it. This is it. This is what kids don't know. This is what they want until they have it in front of them." And we hear stories from customers saying, "I find chapbooks everywhere in my house. They're in their bedroom. They're in the back seat of the car. They're stuffed in their backpack." Kids that carry them around with them. Photos can be such an important tool for parents in helping anchor identity and belonging, boost self esteem. There's actually so much research tying how well you know your family story and how you identify it into your family with so many positive outcomes, psychologically and socially.
And I think it's one of those things where I'll be 44 in May, and I think I would say I'm right on the cusp of when video cameras and professional cameras were in the home on a regular basis. So I don't have video from when I was 1 or 2, but from like 3 years old on, I was really lucky that my dad and my mom set up the camera on a regular basis. My daughter loves seeing videos of me, pictures of me when I was a younger person. But now it's one of those things where our camera rolls are huge. I mean, they're filled with all of these things. But I think that analog way of looking back on it is really, really, really cool. Now, you talked about I can feel the culture of Chatbooks. It's very family oriented. And I think with the people you bring on, how big is your team now, from compared to when you guys first really started this back in 2014?
Yeah, when we first started it, it was my husband, three other guys. And then within the first week, we hired the guy that was making my husband's Subway sandwich because we needed help on QA. And we're like, "Do you like this job? I'll
Yeah,
pay you
yeah, yeah.
more." Yeah. I mean, we were very scrappy.
I love that.
Yeah, we went from a handful of people to we've got about 150 right now. Um, it's not a giant team, but it's big enough that we've got some operational challenges. And also, we were all here in Utah, believed very much in working together in person every day, and then COVID challenged us on
Mhm.
that one. And we ended up selling the lease on our building and embracing remote work and realized that, like, oh, there's actually some incredible talent that doesn't live right here in Utah Valley. And so we actually have quite a few fully remote team members too. And so that's what our team looks like right now. And we still really value getting together in person. And everyone who is in the area locally, we have an office that we gather in 2 days a week, and then we are on a regular rotation, bringing in teams, team by team, for on site, so that we do get more of that in person experience. But we've embraced technology in all the different ways to meet and work together, face to face over Zoom or async over Slack. So.
With being such a family oriented person, 7 children, um, you know, sounds like a very strong marriage. It's been for long, long time now. How did you create the boundaries between work and home?
Mm. That is a really good question. Are there boundaries? I would say in the very beginning, there were no boundaries and it was fun. It was actually exciting. We loved it. Couldn't stop talking
Did
about
you
it.
get the kids involved?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And Declan, who is now, that little kindergartner is now a
Oh
senior in
my
high school.
gosh.
And it is, he loves that has played such a big role. He's modeled for us. He's done QA for us. He's been in some of our ads. Um, actually, most of our kids have been on payroll at some point in some capacity. But beyond that, they've sacrificed a lot as we've built this business too, because I have not been this stay-at-home mom, like welcoming home from school with a plate of cookies and having a home cooked meal every night. Like sacrifices have been made. And I think they feel as invested in this business, and believe in the mission. Our mission is to connect and strengthen families, and I think they know that that's been my priority ever since they were born, and they're super proud of us the way that we've worked together. In fact, my youngest, Declan, who's now 18, when my husband and I get talking about work at home, sometimes we get animated. We don't always agree, but like I said, we have good, like, problem-solving, tools. He loves it. He's always like, "You guys are the coolest. I love hearing you guys talk about work stuff. You're the GOAT." Like, and I just so funny, like, when I try to put myself in his shoes and wonder, like,
Yeah.
"What? What do you" But, no, it's been such a blessing for our family, and you know, because we're so family focused in our product and we know how important it is to have people on our team that reflect our customer and their values, we have lots of busy, growing families on
Yeah.
our team. And, the years that my husband built businesses before we started Chatbooks together, those companies were not necessarily family friendly, and startup life is very challenging. And there, as he was in that early stage startup, VC backed, there were so many hours of work away from us. And it was tough, especially as I was a younger mom with a lot of young kids at home. And so we were really, really wanting to build a culture at Chatbooks that supported family, not just with our products, but also for our team. And I think with the benefit of technology and new ways and norms for working and being able to work remotely and be able to work asynchronously, we still have a really strong culture of bringing your best self to work, working 8 amazing hours, but we recognize that the people that work for us, they're not robots. They have big, rich, complicated, often, like, inconvenient
Mhm.
lives, right? And so we give each other a lot of grace. One of our primary values at Chatbooks is to be a grown-up, and that means that this is a privilege to
Yeah.
work here. And we have high standards, and you're here because we believe in you and we see that you have amazing potential, and you bring your best self to work, and we're going to assume the best, and we're going to be respectful of the teams that we're working with and each other's time. And it's allowed us to build an amazing culture as we've built our company.
Cool. So you said you spend a lot of time, on the marketing side. I mean, what's the primary driver of growth for the business? I would think, I look at a lot of these things. It's like what you say, moms are a big, purchaser of this, right? So I would think that this would be a business you'd be speaking to moms on Instagram, meta ads, things like that, where you're capturing their hearts, you're understanding it, and they're going, is it been a game of ad spend and return on ad spend, or is it a lot of organic growth through just getting out there and talking about it? I'd love to hear what the real driver of the business growth has been.
Yeah, in the very beginning, very organic. And 2013 was a completely different animal on Meta. It wasn't Meta didn't even exist, right? And Instagram, you could post to your followers and they would see what you posted, right? And influencers were not really, labeled as such. There were people with communities, and we would give them their books. And it was such a novelty to have printed photos for so many of them. They would post about them. All their followers would see them. We'd give them a code. We grew so much just organically that way, and then giving product to people with big communities, and they would share. And then the first big, spend that we did was with a Facebook ad. This was in 2015, I think, 2016. Long form video was performing really well on Facebook, and we hired an agency here in Utah to help us do like a Billy Mays kind of style infomercial video with humor. And a friend of mine was the lead actress in it, and it was funny and it was clever and it spoke to moms and it did phenomenally well organically. And then with some spend behind it, like we got to like 80 million views on that. That was a huge driver in the early
Wow.
days. Throughout the years, we've gotten more and more reliant on spend with Meta and Google and now TikTok, and it is a game I want out of. I can't It's insane how much money we and companies like us give these platforms. So the constant struggle right now is to figure out how can we reach our customers organically? How can we actually talk to them? We have a really robust, email database and lots of life cycle programs, and those do really well. But we're constantly looking for the next way to reach our customers. I started a podcast about 7 seasons ago as hoping to be a driver for that, and that's been fun to do and hard to measure the exact performance on that, but we're doing it all the ways, but it's tricky, and I think over the years that we've built our business, like, our customer has different behavior too. Like, we're feeling this pull away from social media, like, where that was, like, the primary place where we talk to them. We've started being active on Substack, blog content.
Have you been doing any in-person things? I mean, just speaking very, very freely with you, you're a very engaging person. I can tell, like like you can tell when people have, I call it the thing, right? You know, you're an actress, you're a performer. I'm drawn to the conversation with you. I would think seeing you live in person would be a very beneficial thing. Is that something that you've done where you've gotten up and spoken in front of groups?
Oh, yeah, I do a lot of speaking. I will say yes to anything because I love to do it, and I love to talk about the business that we're building and the product that we sell. It's hard to scale that, in a real way. There was a year where I kind of did go on tour and kind of did little, house parties where people would invite, 30 of their friends over, and I would give a presentation and teach people about it and let them hold the product and see the product. That was really fun. That's really not scalable. We're trying a little bit of everything, but that was kind of the idea on the podcast is like maybe that's a way to get that, you know, out there a little bit more. But
I have an idea for you. You ready for an idea?
yeah,
Okay.
I'm all ears. Yeah.
I feel like we all always have these fundraisers for school, right? Where I have to buy the heart-shaped pizzas or whatever to support this local, you know. Is there a way to up the price of the book a little bit and then start selling directly to schools?
Yeah. I mean, one of the pillars of our brand is affordability. That was what I felt like one of the blockers for
Oh
families
yeah.
in printing photo books is they're traditionally really expensive. Also, the traditional photo book business is they play these insane pricing games where they you know, they put a price and then they slash it to 40% off and then they still have these in crazy margins. So as a consumer, you're getting played all the time with
Yeah.
coupons and sales. And we embrace honest pricing. We don't want to act like our customers are stupid. We have the thinnest margins we can possibly have to still have growth that is acceptable. So partnerships like that are difficult for us where we say, here, we're going to give you, a cut. We have an affiliate program. We do work with other ambassadors and influencers and they do get paid for the people that they bring to us, but the margins aren't to the point to where we're just a little limited there. But there are relationships where it's advantageous for us to get the product out there. So we will just do in kind. Like we've done some things with here in Utah with Utah Foster
Mhm.
Family Network. We give free books to all foster
That's
families
amazing.
so that they can create something for these kids to take with them if they move on or to keep or that's a population that does not
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
photo books. So we give them there and we do get some press from that and just get our books out in the wild a little bit. We've done partnerships with United Way, we're working on a partnership with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, Best Friends Pet Society. So there are creative ways for us to get our product out there. And when you look at what we pay to acquire a customer on Meta, it's like, oh, we could give away a few books and hopefully get a customer. So we're constantly trying new things.
Before we wrap up, one question I have for you. I mean, what are the long-term plans for the business? So you guys have been going pretty hard at this since 2014. you're in year 12 of this. I mean, what's the ultimate goal? Are you guys having fun? I mean, you like you said, 7 children, 2 grandchildren. You still got a senior in high school, so I'm expecting more grandchildren coming. What does the future of Chatbooks look like, and what are you guys trying to achieve? And how can you being on this show be helpful in that? I mean, you got a client in me. I'm signing up right now. If there's anything that
Oh,
we can,
thank you.
we're going to put this in the show notes. I think a lot of people would be very interested in doing this. But love to know what the
Yeah.
future plans are for the business.
Well, I will say we started off as a primarily just a subscription photo book business, and we also have a product that is a one-off photo book, like the one you would make for a vacation or for a yearbook or for family reunion, something like that. Over the years, that became a bigger and bigger part of our business, and not in a good way. We saw so many people buying those books, at the end of the year for
Mhm.
gifting that we got excited, and we leaned into that more and more as a part of our, yearly projection. But that is not that is a knife fight. There are so many other photo book companies, and trying to sell the same kind of book and then break through all of the messaging and the crazy sales tactics and all of that, it literally is soul sucking. And last year, or just this past holiday season, my husband and I are like, we're done. We're not doing this. We have something unique and special, and we're leaning all in on our subscription business. And so we're changing the way we're doing things, and we have unleashed into the world some aggressive intro offers as a way to get people to just try it. Like this, you might not know what a subscription photo book is like, but we are positive that once people try it, they'll be hooked. Another awesome thing about these subscription books is if you are curating your photos month by month, chunk by chunk, with the aid of our software that makes it really easy, at the end of the year, if you want a nice hardcover yearbook to put on your shelf, like most people do, a lot of people don't make them because they take so much work. And if you're going back through a whole years of photos, that can take you weeks, right? But if you've done this work incrementally month by month, you can choose yearbook, choose your subscription as your photo source, and within 3 minutes, your book is made for you. So that we're leaning into the messaging that the magic of having photo books come to your home every month, and then how you're doing the work to give you this nice archival thing that you want at the end. Now, with this new messaging leaning mostly onto subscription books, we also have a software subscription that is not publicly live right now, but it is. We've been testing it internally, and we're starting to onboard customers. And basically, for customers who have been with us for a while, they have what we call the family memory library, different from your camera roll, which is full of all the screenshots of the recipes and the thousand photos you take at the soccer game trying to catch the one of the goal, right? So few of us go back and actually clean up our camera roll that we're bogged down with junk in there. And it's no fun to scroll through to reminisce on your memories. But if you just take all the photos you've ever printed in Chatbooks and have that to scroll through, now that is a better experience. That's what we're referring to as a family memory library. And this app also makes it really easy to regularly curate your camera roll as a way of sending those photos to your books. So it's software subscription, which is going to scale much better. The margins on that are really, really good for us. And that's going to bring value to our company. And one day it is my hope that I will say these are different visions, right? My son is getting ready to graduate. I'm going to have an empty nest. I would love to do something other than running this business. My husband, he doesn't feel the same way. He wants to do this for the rest of his life. But I'm hoping at some point down the way, somebody, another business who, cares about families and, there's some synergy there, might see some value in this subscription business that we've built that continues to grow beautifully, that has a real responsive customer base who connects deeply with our mission. I'm hoping there might be an acquisition somewhere down the road. Who knows when that will be, but that's kind of what the roadmap looks like for us.
I love that. So, the one thing that I like to ask all the guests is, my $1 million question here. And, when you look back on your journey personally and professionally, what's one moment that felt really small at the time, but ended up changing everything for you?
Oh, man. I mean,
I was going to say when your son came back with the book,
I know. I'm
that's the
like,
one that I went to originally, but I didn't know if there's anything else.
for sure. That was, I mean, that did change everything for the business, changed it for me. But I will say personally, like, I took on this role of chapbooker in chief, co-founder of the business, and I just was like, oh yeah, I can fake it till I make it, but I really feel like I have no business being here. And I remember the first time I was asked to give a keynote about the business we were building, and I'm like, I'm a performer. Give me a script. I can perform it, but I just felt so like an imposter. Like I'm going to be found out. People are going to boo me off the stage when they realize I have no idea what I'm talking about. And my husband told me, look, there's no one right way to be an
Yes.
entrepreneur. You are an entrepreneur. This is your idea. You're building this business your way. That's what people want to hear.
Yeah.
That clicked with me because in all my years raising my family, I've got 4 sisters. We all grew up in the same house, raised by the same parents. We raise our families so differently because we're different people, because we've had different
Experiences. Yeah.
life experiences. And that's so beautiful. There's no one right way to be a mother. And so that clicked for me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to own my unique journey here and accept that I don't know everything about CAC and ROAS and all of the, acronyms that I'm still trying to learn this to this day. That's okay. I don't need to know that. Why would I know that in my life up to this point? But I do know a lot of other things, and that's what I'm going to speak to. So just owning my experience up to that point and the fact that it's okay to not know everything and there's no one right way to be an entrepreneur, that was so empowering to me. And from that day forward, instead of like sitting in a meeting and like faking like I knew what they were talking about and secretly Googling under the table, what is that? What does that mean? I would just like, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that term. Can you help me understand what that is? It just that felt so empowering, and that changed everything for me.
I love it. It's really annoying though when people use acronyms. Like I try to do a really good job of not doing that because it makes you sound so like ugh, whatever. But that's amazing. Vanessa, where can people follow along with you, Chatbooks? How can we best support you? What's the best way? We'll obviously put all this in the show notes, but this is your moment.
Well, you're so nice to have me on here and let me share my story. I would love for people to follow us on Instagram at Chatbooks. My content community team, we're doing a lot of really fun things there. And not just about photo books, but about family and lots of fun content. In fact, my team is in my house right now getting ready to shoot a Super Bowl ad here. Not a real Super Bowl ad, but one we'll share on Instagram. But follow on Instagram at Chatbooks. I'm at Vanessa Quigley. I share a lot about the podcast there. Really, what I would love for people to do is download the Chatbooks app. We have it for iOS and Android. And when you get into the app, find the deals tab. If you have never bought from Chatbooks before, it's in the upper left hand corner. Go to the deals tab, and that's where you'll find some of our aggressive intro offers, where you can try out Chatbooks. And then I would love to hear what you think.
Definitely, you have a client in me. I'm definitely going to go do that. I really want to thank you for jumping on the podcast today. I really appreciate it. And listen, for any of the listeners out there, if you are a business owner listening to this and you're trying to improve your process, strengthen your culture, or build an ideal exit plan, feel free to reach out to me. If you have a problem inside your business, I'll do my best to connect you with the right person. I'm here to be a helpful resource. Vanessa, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. And let's continue to build something meaningful together. Take care.
Thank you.